The Department of Transport and the Road Traffic Management Corporation have launched an urgent nationwide appeal for responsible driving. Under the 2025 theme, It Starts With Me, the campaign emphasizes personal accountability to curb the annual spike in road fatalities. The festive season remains the most dangerous period on South African roads due to a lethal combination of high traffic volumes, long-distance fatigue, and increased alcohol consumption. Let's talk more about this with road safety specialist at Road Ethics Project, Dr. Lee Randall. Dr. Randall, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Randall, as we know, this time of the year, lots of travel on our roads, very busy time. There's a lot of efforts to intensify driver behavior as well. I don't know if you had an opportunity to also catch the mid-festive update by the Transport Minister yesterday, and she also had said that there is a decrease in the number of fatalities when you compare this period to the same period last year. But that being said, Dr. Randall, driver behavior is still something that needs to be sorted out and fixed in South Africa.
Great. Yes, the Road Ethics Project really welcomed what Minister Creasy had to say yesterday. We've had the lowest deaths per day at 32 in the past 5 years, a 21% drop in fatal crashes and fatalities. And that is a really good news story. We need to keep that up for the rest of the festive season. But at the same time, we have an ethical crisis. Even this year, which is so much better than past years have been, we have killed on average one person every 45 minutes in the first 16 days of December. And that is something we've all got to wake up to. We are a laggard in terms of international norms, particularly in relation to other upper middle income countries. So I think we've got 4 messages, particularly for drivers this festive season. The first message is be realistic. Recognize the state of our road system. Although we have some of the best roads in Africa, we also have plenty of really bad roads. We have over 14 million vehicles, over 750,000 kilometers of road, and yet we have only 22,000 traffic cops. So basically, we've got to wake up our inner traffic cops. We also must realize that we have a very diverse vehicle mix. I heard earlier the term moving coffins or coffins on wheels. And yes, there are many vehicles that are not roadworthy that shouldn't be on the roads. And at this high movement time of year, that's a particular worry. The major traffic days are the lead up to Christmas and then again the rush home after New Year. So the 2nd to the 4th of January and of course this week. Highly dangerous times, and far too many people are traveling in the hours of darkness, which are the most dangerous hours. So be realistic, plan your journey. The second key message is be prepared. So know your vehicle, know yourself, know your passengers. Are you going to have children? Are you going to have a lot of luggage? Are you going to have elderly people who might need to stop more often? And plan your journey accordingly. We in South Africa think nothing of traveling 500 to 1,500 kilometers for a short festive season break. But by world standards, that is very long distance driving. A long distance journey globally is considered to be 300 kilometers and up, or 3 hours and up. And I think South Africans are a bit blasé. We actually need to stop as drivers every 2 hours or so, every 200 kilometers or so, and make sure that those are restful, recharging stops that are taken safely. So if you have to pull over to the roadside because there is nowhere else, pull over safely, try and get completely clear of moving traffic. Also, before you even leave on your trip, pack emergency items, your emergency triangle, first aid kit, power bank, cell phones, maps, GPS. Definitely check your spare tire, etc. So too many of us just hit the road rather unprepared. And people also sometimes hire a car and they don't first familiarize themselves with the controls of that car. And crunch time can come as nightfall hits and they realize they're not entirely sure how the lights operate. So please be familiar with your vehicle, familiar with your route, and familiar also with expected hazards and the most likely safe rest stops.
Yeah, and thank you so
A
much for those
third,
guys. Sorry, you may continue, Dr.
okay.
Randall.
Thanks so much. The third key message is stay awake, be awake. Rest properly before journeys, if at all possible. Have those recharging sleeps or rests along the way if you need to. Don't try and drive during hours when your body is desperate to fall asleep. So try and avoid the late night, the very early morning hours, and know the warning signs and make sure your passengers know the warning signs. Eyelids drooping, reaction times dropping, wandering from lane to lane or getting too close to the edge of the road. These are all signs that the driver is fatigued, and fatigued is the same as drunk in terms of impairment. It's incredibly dangerous. Rotate drivers if possible and enroll passengers to help. The passenger can converse with the driver, keep them awake, and so on. And then finally, I just want to say, be a moral grown-up. As a driver, you're in charge of a potential killing machine. In South Africa, most people have to walk at least some of the time, and we have a sky-high pedestrian fatality rate. As a driver, there are things that you can do to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. 30 kilometers an hour is the typically safe, survivable speed for an encounter between a pedestrian and a vehicle. Our speeds are all too high by World Health Organization standards. Slow down just a bit. Slow down from 120 to 119, that 1% drop in your speed, if we can all average that kind of minor drop in our speed, we will see a significant 4% drop in crashes. And just in this period, that alone could have saved another 20 people who died where speed might have been one of the problems. And then finally, when crashes do happen, and they do, all over the world crashes happen, the aim is to make them survivable, to make the injuries less severe. And as an occupational therapist by background, I can say that for every death, there are 10 critically or seriously injured people. And the consequences are lifelong often, and the family circle, colleagues, friendship circle, the devastation goes well beyond that individual injured person. So use all the injury reduction methods available: seat belts, child restraints, motorcycle helmets, bicycle helmets. These all play a role in helping to reduce injuries and make them more survivable, such as they are in the high-income countries. So be a moral grown-up. Don't be a moral toddler or a moral teenager. The safe, ethical speed is not necessarily the legal speed. If you go at a speed safer than the circumstances allow, you are potentially being a lethal idiot to yourself, your loved ones, and other road users.
Dr. Randall, I thought it was very important that you actually continue to give us those guidelines, and that's why I said you should continue when I had interrupted you there, because they're really important. And you were speaking about pedestrian accidents as well, and we heard from Minister Creasy's briefing yesterday that, you know, they were the leading cause of fatal crashes were pedestrian accidents as well. The other big problem on our roads is driving under the influence. This has been an issue for a very, very long time, and it doesn't seem to be going away or to be getting better when you look at the stats released yesterday about the number of people who have been arrested for driving under the influence and the number of people who have been arrested for attempting to bribe officers while being under the influence. And when you're speaking about being a moral grown-up, why is it that we aren't able to make a serious dent when it comes to the fight against driving under the influence?
Well, I think we have an alcohol-steeped culture, and I think other countries have found that peer pressure plays a huge role in reducing impaired driving due to alcohol. And unfortunately, what we have here is that we almost condone it, we almost glamorize it. People offer each other, have one for the road. People don't police each other and themselves. and people are less knowledgeable than they should be about the effects of alcohol impairment. A lot of people think that one drink is okay, when in fact one drink may be too many. So peer pressure, society as a whole waking up to the huge dangers of alcohol would potentially take us from being one of the countries that has the world's worst alcohol-related fatalities to one that is much more in line with our actual level of road safety development as a country. Our use of alcohol is very out of keeping with our laws and with where we're heading, which is generally a good news story. But the alcohol issues are major at this time of year especially.
Earlier on, as we started speaking, I heard you refer to this as an ethical crisis when we're talking about our state of the roads or driver behavior at this time of the year. How dire would you say the problem is?
Well, it is dire. We are, as I said earlier, a laggard. We are not performing the way we should be. We have a lot of ingredients in place. We have a road safety lead agency. We have a certain amount of national budget going towards road safety. We actually have some of the best laws around vehicle standards, and road user behavior in the whole of the SADC. We are better off in terms of our legal situation, our legal framework, than many of our neighboring countries. However, enforcement and compliance are lagging behind. We also have better post-crash care on the whole than many of our neighboring countries, particularly the low-income countries. So our crashes should be more survivable than they actually are. So it's multifactorial why it is an ethical crisis. But basically, the bottom line is the world has sufficient knowledge and sufficient technology to significantly reduce crashes. And South Africa is there. We have some really world-class practices, vehicles, laws, policies, and even our national road safety strategy is world-class in that it embraces Vision Zero, which is aiming for zero road harm, or zero road deaths in particular, and it's resting on the safe system model, which says this is not just about individual driving behavior. This is about the system as a whole. And unfortunately, in my PhD research into the minibus taxi industry, my conclusion was that our system in South Africa is especially crashogenic. In other words, it's logical that one of the outputs of the system is not safe travel, but unsafe travel and lots of crashes, high levels of crashes. And people point fingers at minibus taxi drivers, for instance, just like they may also do at, say, truck drivers. But in fact, we are all part of the system. And those kinds of drivers may really just be the canary in the coal mine. They're the indicator species. They're showing us the ills in the system as a whole. So we at the Road Ethics Project try to foster ethical literacy around why it is an ethical crisis that we still lose 32 people a day in a country like South Africa.
Dr. Randall, really appreciate your guidelines and your insights when you're talking about this really important conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will obviously try our best to be moral grown-ups as well. That was Road Safety Specialist at Road Ethics Project, Dr. Lee Randall.